You know, you used to get like boxes of tea, you know, and in packets of tea you used to get cards, didn't you, about different flags of the world or cars of the world, soldiers. And then you had birds of the world, and they were only about that big, like little card, like a green finch or a blackbird. And I always remember going up the garden and putting them in the trees and the hedges, because I thought the other birds might be attracted to them, and it might encourage them to nest and you know, and come onto our garden. I think my mum and my dad said, I don't think you're going to have much luck with that, Sean. I must have been very young, so it must have started early, this fascination with birds. I'm Sean Bean, and this is Get Birding in collaboration with Forest Holidays.
Hey, have you ever heard an eider duck?
No.
They sound like Frankie Howard.
Oh?
They go, yeah, exactly. They go,
Across this new season, we'll be learning birding how-tos for 2026.
I think it can be very confusing when people are looking at getting their first pair of binoculars, because it all looks very kind of numerical, but what you're actually looking at is these two numbers. So mine, for example, are 8x42, which means they have a magnification of 8, and that this is 42 millimeters, meaning it gets lots of light in, you can see better in the dark, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got a few dials on mine, radio 4 here.
Once you start taking an interest in the birds that are either coming to your garden or you're seeing in your local park or about in the skies, once you start learning about them, they're just such incredible, beautiful creatures.
It's really life-enhancing, it really is. It's like a party that's just never-ending.
You'll also be hearing from familiar voices from the Get Birding community, like Dr Mya-Rose Craig.
What do you reckon it might be?
Long-tailed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I love them because they're literally like a lollipop, but as a bird, really, aren't they?
Yeah, like little pom-pom, aren't they?
Jason Singh.
It puffs itself up and it comes up to you and it's like, yo, listen, I'm here, I'm the robin. Whereas it feels like with sparrows, they're a crew, they're a collective, they're a we.
And me, city girl in nature. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be with Sean Bean in the countryside.
And that had kestrels in it about 2 years ago, which were fantastic.
Or me in southeast London. Oh, there we go. Crows are arguing. Get Birding is for everyone, whether you're a first-timer or an experienced birder.
It's probably similar for you. I think a lot of people have that kind of childhood magic that kind of has continued into adulthood of bird watching.
Yeah.
In my unbiased opinion.
I don't think you ever lose it, do you?
I don't think so. Yeah.
This first episode is all about getting ready for the Big Garden Birdwatch. To tell us more about it and how you can get involved this year, I'm going to call NHS doctor and president of the RSPB, Dr Amir Khan.
So it's an annual kind of survey that the RSPB have been putting on since 1979, and it encourages everyone across the country, whether they have a garden or a local park or whatever, really, even a window box, to spend an hour counting the birds that land in their area. So it just gives us an idea of which garden birds are doing well and which ones need a bit more support, I think.
Yeah.
You can just go online and you can download or ask for a pack to be posted to you, and it's free. And so in that, it's got like a form you can fill out to say the birds that you've seen, but also a little identification thing. So if you're not a birder, which is we want everyone, don't we, really? So whether you're an experienced birder or not, you can tick off the birds you see, because there'll be pictures of each of the common garden birds, so you can match them up with what you've seen. So it's really useful, because I think a lot of us assume that common birds like sparrows and starlings are doing really well because we get a lot of them in our garden, but actually numbers are, as with most things, numbers are steadily decreasing, even though the sparrow was still the most common bird that we're getting in our gardens. The overall numbers are decreasing.
I've got this book from Reader's Digest. It's a big book with an owl on the front, and it's got these lovely pictures in it. But it's from 1973, I think, and it's very outdated now because the sparrow population then was incredible. I mean, I come from Sheffield, and we lived on an housing estate, and they were everywhere. But I mean, that dropping, I think they've dropped to about 60% of the population, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. It's a real significant drop, and it just goes to show. And it's the same with starlings. You know, again, a common bird that you'd see in huge flocks, wouldn't you, in your garden, coming in and chattering and making all that lovely noise. And we very rarely get starlings or sparrows in our garden as well. We're on the outskirts of Yorkshire now, but you know, even still, we get loads of birds in the garden, but when I see a sparrow, even though, because they're not so common for us, I get quite excited.
Yeah, you get excited about it. Yeah, same here. Yeah. It reminds me of being up north and up in Yorkshire.
Totally.
And what is it? Is it kind of pesticides, or because houses are not built with nooks and crannies that they used to be?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. So habitat loss is a big thing. A lot of our gardens, even in urban areas, are getting tidier, and there's not enough kind of insects in those places. So food is becoming scarce. And you're right, housing has changed as well. And there isn't much wildlife being planned into those homes. And I think that's really important, isn't it? We need to make sure we get the houses, but also we plan around nature, so we can get the benefits of having nature in our area. Are you a birder, Sean? Are you a keen birder?
Yeah, I am. I have been for a long time, since I was a kid, really, since I was young. And I've always kept it going, you know, between jobs and stuff like that. Sometimes I've, you know, let it go for a bit, but I always come back to it, you know. And I live now, I've got about 3 acres here, so we've got a big garden. I've planted loads of trees and stuff, and I've got feeders and nest boxes, so I'm you know, watching them every day now when I'm not working.
Yeah. You always come back to it, don't you? I think when it comes to birding, and when you go back to it, you realise like what you've been missing. It's so gorgeous. Yeah,
it's like a bonus in your life, you know. And in the midst of all the work that we do, and you know, and the pressures and tensions,
as you say, you know, when you come back to watching the birds, and I think that hour that you spend watching the birds with the Big Garden Birdwatch is we know we're doing it because the main reason is for looking at which birds are doing well, which ones are not. But that hour is so good for our own health as well, right? Yeah. You know, we get so much out of it, as much as the birds do.
You do, don't you? Yeah, definitely.
I can hear the birds in the background of you, actually.
There's quite a few up here. Yeah. You get red kites coming. Quite a lot of buzzards around here as well. Sparrowhawks, kestrels. Yeah,
because I was thinking with all the grass you've got, it's probably such a good habitat for kind of all the things, all the little things that they eat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've just left this like this. I'm going to leave it like this because there's so much richness. There's so many wild plants and seeds and, you know, nettles, which are great for the butterflies. Just nice to have a bit of patch like this, you know, and because it looks very bedraggled now, but I quite like that, all different kind of, you know, these pastel colours. Yeah, but once it gets going, it'll be like a jungle, you know, and then you see different things.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I guess like one of the easiest things that people can do to get more birds really is just let it be a little bit more wild, a bit more natural, right?
Yeah, I think so. You know, as long as you can get through it, you know, you've got a path.
Yeah, if you've got a machete, you make your way up to your front door,
Dr Mya-Rose Craig presented the very first season of this podcast, and she's just the right person to keep us all on the right track ahead of the Big Garden Birdwatch and beyond. I always call it bird watching or ornithology, but then you've got like birding and twitching. What's the difference?
Birding and bird watching are probably the same thing, really. Versus twitching is when we're getting much more into that very competitive, listy side of things. Yeah, and they're twitching because they're excited that the birds are going to come, is the idea.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
But I think kind of with twitching, you're going to a specific place to see a specific bird, normally very rare, quite often like not from the UK, for example, which is when it does get quite competitive in a fun way, normally. Versus bird watching, I genuinely think bird watching can be literally going out into your garden, sitting, watching birds. You're a bird watcher.
Yeah, so twitching's a bit more serious.
My family were twitchers actually, and we used to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and go off to like North Scotland from Somerset to go and see a crane or something that has appeared. Like it was very, because it is fun. Like I'm making it sound like it's very serious, and it's not. We used to go on all these like adventures looking for stuff and end up in really weird places.
I mean, we used to do that. We used to go to Flamborough Head and that estuary near Hull and Grimsby, innit? We used to go in hides and stuff, and saw flamingos there.
Really?
Once, yeah, pink flamingo, and we told the local, wildlife people, and they were in the paper and everything. But we used to go to places like that, and but they were memorable. I went with my friends, and I remember it now, years and years. I was only 13, 14, but it's an adventure in itself, isn't it? I'm going to give somebody else a call. You'll know them for that incredible voice with elbow.
Yeah, you're looking good, mate.
You're right, guy. But maybe not for the love of birdwatching. Bit cold, innit?
It's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, and a fan of yours and your music. First time I've done anything like this, a podcast, and they said you were coming up. I was really happy, because as I said, I like your music, and I said, oh, Guy Garvey. I said, yeah. She said, oh, great, So
I saw you years ago in a pub in Manchester, and I wanted to come over it and say hello, and I bottled it.
Oh, did you? Oh, you daft.
So this is made up for that.
So what got you interested in bird watching and that, Guy?
In my late 20s, I had a flat in the centre of Manchester that I was renting off my pal. It had a balcony and a big patio window.
Yeah.
And I left a saucer on it, and the saucer filled with rainwater. And long story short, a missel thrush started fledging its young'un on the balcony.
Yeah.
Because of which way it all faced and everything, there was big reflections on the window, so you could get right up close and look at this happening without the birds seeing you and being startled. Yeah, so it was really a beautiful thing to watch. And then I started looking around at the different birds, and because they cleaned the canals up, there was heron on the canal in the middle of Manchester. And also I see these goldfinch everywhere. And I read if you get Niger seed, it's like goldfinch crack. So I saw a hung one right in front of my patio window, and then suddenly I had almost, I'd say, 20 goldfinch at all times outside my window. So it started from there, really. Bird watchers, like twitchers, would call me a robin stroker. I don't go running off to find them. It's what comes into the garden. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Sean?
It's hard to kind of explain. It was a gradual thing, and I'd always been interested in wildlife. I used to, when I was very younger, always interested in books about dinosaurs and prehistoric animals, and and then I started noticing the things that were around us, and there was a plethora of bird types then. I used to just not far in a field just over the road where we used to live. Used to be just lay down, in a field, and you see skylarks, and you could hear them for ages and ages, just twittering and going around. And I used to have a couple of friends. My friend he was called Stuart Oxlade, and another one called Michael Ragg, and others. And so we really got into it, and then we became quite competitive, putting up feeders and bird tables, making nest boxes. And I once, because I was quite good at drawing and at school, painting, drawing, and I won a prize, for art, and I got I think they knew I liked bird watching, so it was a little book called Birdwatching in the British Isles, and I was very proud of that, coming first in art, and I was also pleased to get the book, and stuff like that. There's just a certain attraction. I don't know what it is. It's really, it really settles your mind, and it really focuses you. I guess it's like playing a musical instrument. You can't be thinking of anything else when you're in the garden. You're looking out for birds, or you're bird watching. Because everything else floats away, all your troubles, and worries, and you're just totally focused on something, on nature, which is beneath our feet, which you feel, which is very grounding, kind of. Had a very grounding influence on me, and I guess helped in my career as well, I suppose. Keeps you sane. Should imagine it's like your business. You've got this noise, that focus, and travelling around the world, concerts, and
also if you have 5 minutes in a strange place anywhere in the world, you can have a look around and see what the local birds are doing. I'm always disappointed when you're really, really far away and you just get larger versions of what you get at home.
Yeah, you do, especially in America. But I mean, you get larger versions of everything over there, don't you?
Yeah, but it's a lovely thing, and I'm always interested in how different places have different. So, for instance, blue jays are, well, it's the name of the baseball team in Toronto, but they're considered a nuisance in New York.
Not the baseball team.
They employ hawks to deal with blue jays in New York.
Do they? Yeah.
And they're bloody noisy. They're really noisy.
There's loads of songs about birds, isn't there? The bluebird on my... There's a blue jay on my shoulder. I'm not very good on bird songs and that. I've been
using the old Merlin app. It's really amazing, because I've had a couple of apps, but that one's... It's incredible. It can take just being a bit of a sound nerd, and Hana will appreciate this, who's producing your programme, it can read a wave, like a 3-second long wave, and it can pull 4 species out in 3 seconds, if they're all singing at once.
Really?
It's amazing how it separates up the wave and how it recognises everything. There was this cry that the app couldn't recognise, like it was a descending, I won't do a very good impression of it, but I'll give it a go. It was like a like this, and really loud, almost tropical sounding. The Merlin app couldn't recognise it. I phoned my mate Danny, who's Elbow's front of house sound engineer and produces a lot of our stuff, because Danny's a right big brain. He's also got a very deep voice, so his nickname is Deep Blue, after the supercomputer. So I was like, right, Deep Blue, tell us what this is. And he spent all afternoon researching it, and it was a green woodpecker, apparently.
Oh, yeah, they do sound a bit like that. We get them here, and it's like a whooping kind of, a bit like the flight, they kind of swoop and up and down. And that sounds a bit like the voice, yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. And like I said, there's a lot of bamboo where we are. So I was wondering what it was, but Danny nailed it.
Might have been a panda.
Eh?
Might have been a panda. Got a bit here, like fucking pandas.
Hey, have you ever heard an eider duck?
No.
They sound like Frankie Howard.
Oh.
They go, yeah, exactly. They go, oh.
The parakeets just sound like they're always like gisting, or they just feel like they're always like chit-chatting. That's what I get from the parakeets, because they're always got the same kind of tone going on, and it feels like it's part of their personality to always send that call.
The Big Garden Birdwatch is about more than just one garden. So I'm sending the microphones over to a fellow spotter to see what's happening on their home turf.
My name is Kwesia, also known as City Girl in Nature. We're currently in Ruskin Park. Right now it's a really, really clear day, in fact. I can see the city skyline in the distance as well, the Shard, the London Eye. But you always will somewhere or somehow notice birds. And whether it's because you're annoyed that people are feeding pigeons, in the city, you're still noticing them, or a pigeon's got underground and is commuting with everyone. There's always something around birds in the city too. But then there's really intimate moments, like being in this park in the morning, whether they're singing, whether they're just speaking to one another. And then also you can get kind of oases where it feels like you're almost not in the city, where you then see chiff-chaffs or, you see smaller birds kind of interacting in a different way. But the feral pigeon is just as important, you know? The feral pigeon is like the original WhatsApp. So we have to pay our respects, you know? When I'm outside, I definitely slow down. My mind begins to focus on the smaller things because it changes the awareness of myself. I think that's the big connection that I think not everyone speaks about. It's not just about connecting with the natural world around us, but what is that doing within us? I'm looking at things in amazement and awe, like how is that even happening? Like, for instance, that log just there, steam's coming off of it. Like, who would have thought, you know? And then just watching the birds, how they're just flying around, you know, there's 2, 3 of them, they're interacting, and they're happy, they're singing. Parakeets also shouting from over there. But there is also planes. There's quite a few inside. So this is definitely a flight pathway also. So it's quite interesting, the different things taking flight in this space. And yeah, it's beautiful, you know, you can see birds wherever you are. And even in tower blocks, you're actually at a better advantage of seeing more birds because you're higher up, actually. So I feel like no matter where you are or what type of house you live in or facilities, even if you have a balcony too, loads of birds love to perch on balconies. So I feel like everyone's got a unique perspective. It's equally important because it's part of a bigger picture. Even if you're at your window and you don't have a balcony, you're able to see so much. And you can grab a pair of binoculars and have your own, you know, bird watching session from your window. You know, like that's just so unique, like with a cup of tea and in your pajamas. Do you know how cozy that is? You know, that's beautiful. The more that we do that is the more that we'll start to also be in a different mindset as well, actually, and we'll start to appreciate more the little things and take a moment to just breathe. I think that's a big one as well, you know, living in the city and all the hustle and bustle, just building that relationship or noticing birds changes that.
This is part of my garden. This is like more coniferous. You can see with the pine trees, and I've planted quite a lot of stuff here. You know, I've done a lot of native trees, and can hear a few birds. Like I said, I'm not that great at identifying their chirpings, but I'm learning. Like, you know, I know blackbirds and woodpeckers, get green woodpeckers here, and they make a very distinctive sound. And of course you get the magpies and jackdaws and crows and stuff like that. But you know, it's great. Sometimes, you know, I guess in January you don't hear a great deal, but you know, when you get to spring, it's like a cacophony of sound, and it's great to get up in the morning. You look forward to getting up, and you know, and the sound is all around you.
The way that these sounds, bang, bang, ting, ting, ta, ta, to, ting, 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 bum, bum, bum. There's been parts when I've been, like, say, in Italy, and I've observed groups of people speaking over each other, or in a family gathering, or in a sort of in a social setting, and everyone's like putting in their bit of their conversation, or their words, or their, you know, or their 2 pence worth. And to me, there's a similar relationship there in the way that you observe groups of people interacting and communicating. And I see the same thing with birds.
Jason Singh is a sound artist and a nature beatboxer.
So a little bit about the sound. So this little...
He spends his life exploring the relationship between us and the wild through audio. He's joining us every fortnight on Get Birding.
And I thought we'd start with the sparrow, one of the most spotted birds in the Big Garden Birdwatch. I feel like what I do is that I try and practice to tune myself to the natural world. So sparrows I find really interesting because when it's so weird describing this to somebody else. They're like walnuts with beaks. So sparrows are birds that I grew up with, And I can remember that they were always in groups. And if you saw one, it was always going to be attacked by a pigeon. And it was like a tiny bird that seems to always be on edge and aware, but it's not selfish because it's telling others as well about it. It's telling its people that, listen, there's potential danger here. So it's quite a sharing bird because their calls are so distinct. You know, when they're in groups, I mean, like here now in Devon, in different parts of Devon that I go, especially hedgerows, they are so loud. It's unbelievable. And they don't care. They're like, here we are, we're doing this thing and we are here. And I love that. I love the feeling of we are here in such a tiny bird. Because sometimes it feels like, say, with robins, for instance, it's a kind of I am here. And, you know, it puffs itself up and it comes up to you and it's like, yo, listen, I'm here. I'm the robin. Whereas it feels like with sparrows, they're a crew, they're a collective, they're a we. And I think there's something really beautiful about that. We live such an individual life of like, look at me. This is what I'm doing. This is where I've been. But actually to observe nature in this kind of collective capacity, there is a relationship. So a little bit about the sound. So this little... That's the kind of rhythm as I hear it. And then obviously I then go into the world of building these environments of sparrows, which sound like, well, you can hear the collective. Because it doesn't speak the same language that you speak, it's kind of like a whole other world that is open up to interpretation.
To a sparrow, Francis Lethwich. Because you have no fear to mingle wings with those of greater part, so like me, with song I single your sweet impudence of heart. And when prouder feathers go where summer holds her leafy shore, you still come to us from nowhere, like grey leaves across the snow. In backways where odd and end go, to your meals you drop down sure, knowing every broken window of the hospitable poor. There is no bird half so harmless, none so sweetly rude as you, none so common and so charmless, none of virtues nude as you. But for all your faults, I love you, for you linger with us still, though the wintry winds reprove you, and the snow is on the hill. We were over here actually, and there were redwings the other day, and they were just flying over. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons I like birds so much, in particular over other things, is because they are everywhere. You know, you can be in the middle of the city, middle of the countryside, and there is stuff flying around much more than people notice. And so I really think like the first step is just stopping and looking up and seeing what's flying around. And I think, you know, once you start to notice the nature that's around you, that's when you start to know what the regular things are and what the rare things are. And I really think bird watching boils down to kind of appreciating what's around you and being very present.
Just going out somewhere, it's countryside or a park. And,
exactly.
And then just seeing what's around and then maybe following that, and then something else will turn up.
I think people would be surprised by how many birds you can see in kind of a 10-mile radius of your house.
There's always something interesting happening, I think. You know.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, that's all for this first episode. The Big Garden Birdwatch runs this weekend, January 23rd to the 25th. Doesn't matter if you have a massive garden, just a window box, just give it an hour. So get your tally charts and your apps ready and keep that kettle on. Thanks for coming along with us today, and I'll see you in a fortnight, birdies. Get Birding was produced by Hana Walker-Brown. The executive producer is Jane Gerber. This is a Get Birding production. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts.